about email pitches. We're going to basically say, what are you saying to events to actually get hired? So that's what we're going to go over today. I'm going to go over some of the real pitches that people have actually written, and we're going to go from there. What's up, Maggie? Hola. All right, let's go. Let's see who else is hopping on. So like I said, today it's all about the email pitches. So what are you saying to events to actually get yourself booked on a stage? If you know what to say and how to say it, you're going to get booked more often. Whereas if you don't and you're saying things the wrong way, you're going to be absolutely confused, confuzzled in terms of how do I get hired. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Some pitches. What's up, Jim? What's up, Dean? What's up, peeps? All right. So I'm going to wait a few seconds. I've got a couple pitches that I want to look at that we're going to go over. And and then if you guys have any questions, make sure you ask some questions. But you got to think in terms of pitching. A lot of people get confused in terms of why am I not getting hired? Why am I not getting hired? And it's a combination of two things, really. It's either your website and or what you're saying to events when you contact them, because a lot of people are really struggling with both. But once you get the website up, then it just comes down to actually knowing how to sound in demand when you talk to events. And it's small details that you're missing out on that you need to learn, and you got to master this if you want to pitch the right way. And the only way to really do that is just to do a ton of pitches, like just to keep pitching over and over and to get feedback in terms of what it is you're doing right, what it is you're doing wrong. That's the only way you're going to get good at knowing how to pitch. So let's get going. What's up, Glenn? What's up, Barbara? What's up, peeps? All right, so first pitch that I want to go over is actually Richie's pitch. Richie is actually a sales speaker, sales trainer. So we're going to go over his pitch. And if you're a sales speaker, by the way, you're probably in the easiest industry to get hired for events, to find events and to talk to them is probably the easiest, because there's so many people that you can talk to. You can just Google like sales manager, or you can go to LinkedIn, look up sales managers, talk to them. So it's one of the easiest industries to actually get hired in, just because it's so easy to find them. Whereas if you think like corporate events, it's kind of like, what is a corporate event? How do you find the corporate events, right? Another industry that's really easy is colleges. Like colleges, you simply do a search for college directory and poof, you have all the colleges you need to contact. And now it comes down to what exactly are you saying to the events? I can't stress this enough. A lot of people think their pitches are good, and then what happens is they get a response. If they get a response, people will say things like, oh, we don't actually pay speakers, or we're not looking right now, or you're not a good fit. And they get a lot of those because they don't know how to pitch. And so you got to learn how to pitch. What's up, John? Good work on the gig, John. And by the way, good work on the gig, Maggie, the 25K gig, Maggie, that you're working on. What's up, Paul? What up, Dan? Nitro? All right, so let's get going. Before I actually go, I do want to point out that even though I say email pitch, you want to think of it as a conversation, not a pitch. Because when you think of it as a pitch, what happens is you're talking at them instead of talking with them. So you have to think of it as a conversation, not really a pitch. But the reason I say pitch is because it just sounds weird if I'm just like, all right, email conversation time. So it just sounds better when I say email pitch, right? So let me here's Richie's pitch, right? I'm going to read it out to you. So Richie, he's contacting sales managers, sales events, and he says this. He says, do you have any upcoming events for your sales force who would benefit from increased passion, better employee engagement, increased sales, and an improved culture? If so, I work with a motivational sales speaker named Richie who helps companies reignite the relentless attitude within. Here's the link to Richie's website. Here's Richie's quick 2-minute demo and keynote information. Feel free to call me at, or feel free to reply or call me at to discuss in more detail. Now, before I go on and do my thing, can anyone tell me what you think is wrong with the pitch? Like, how would you improve it, by the way? I do want to say, Richie, he's been paying attention. So he knows not to go on for like 5 paragraphs in an email pitch. Like he knows not to do that. He knows like, let me just keep it short, right? So that's a good thing in terms of keeping it short. But I'll read that again. What do you guys think, or how would you guys improve the pitch? So let me read it again. So he says, do you have any upcoming events for your sales force who would benefit from increased passion, better employee engagement, increased sales, and an improved culture? If so, I work with a motivational sales speaker named Richie who helps companies reignite the relentless attitude within. Here's a link to Richie's website, www.so-and-so. Here is Richie's quick 2-minute demo and keynote information, www.so-and-so. Feel free to reply or call me at so-and-so to discuss in more detail. So can anyone tell me what would you change about this whole thing? And all right, now my patience has run out, so I'm just going to tell you guys what I think. So first off, the problem with this pitch is that it sounds like a copy and paste template. All right. So that's the first thing, is the more your pitch sounds like a copy and paste template, the less likely you're going to get a response. Of course, you can send out a ton of emails like this. If you just have a copy and paste template, you can send out a ton of emails, but most of those emails are basically going to be useless. So let's see. Glenn said maybe instead of say, hey, at your next event, what would you say instead of that? So instead of saying, hey, at your next event, what would you say, Glenn? Let's see. Paul said it's not personal. It could be sent to anyone. Exactly. Yeah. So Paul said, caught on real quick. So yeah, basically in terms of the first thing, you got to think, if your email sounds like, here's how I tell people. If I can copy and paste your email and send it to somebody else, you did it wrong. So if I can copy and paste your email, the same email template, and send it to another sales manager or another sales event, you did it wrong. Whereas if I were to say things like let's say Mark Benioff, right? Mark Benioff, the CEO of Salesforce, they have a Dreamforce event, and I say, hey, Mark Benioff, I see your Dreamforce event, your 2018 Dreamforce event. I noticed you guys had Tony Robbins last year. Looks amazing. Tony Robbins killed it. At that moment, the very few sentences that I just said, I now can no longer copy and paste that email and send it to somebody else. That's how you know you're doing it right. If I can copy and paste your email and send it to multiple events, you did the whole thing wrong. You're going to get very low response rate, okay? So let's see. Jim said, just sign up. All right, cool. All right. Yeah, I can't wait, Jim. All right, let's see. Debbie, use the name of the email person. Yeah, so once again, Debbie, it's the same thing in terms of Debbie and Paul, to where it's not personal enough, to where it's literally like a copy and paste thing. So he should have started out with a name or something in terms of not being copy and paste. And then you want to think in terms of, once again, look for a specific event. So he started out by saying, do you have any upcoming events for your sales force who would benefit from so-and-so, right? So instead of saying, do you have any upcoming events, you want to say like, hey, I noticed your event, Dreamforce, or I noticed your annual employee event, so-and-so. Like you want to be specific. I noticed this event, right? That's what you want to do. And let's see, Debbie said, know about the events and speak about their vision and mission. All right, yeah, so Debbie's getting like more specific, right? It's all about the specificity. But you want to think in terms of like, Richie, what you're doing is you're throwing out a net with everything. It's like you're just throwing out a net, like, let me just catch something. Whereas you want to use a spear. You want to be like, boom, right? You just want to be, the Dreamforce event, right? Instead of just being like, hey, all your events, you're just throwing out a net. Whereas it's like, no, bam, this event, right? So you want to use a spear, not a net, when you're actually talking to events. Once again, it really comes down to, you want to think in terms of, if I can copy and paste your email, you did it wrong. I shouldn't be able to copy and paste your email and send it to somebody else, because if I did that, they would look at it, they would see Mark Benioff, they'd see Dreamforce, they'd see, oh, Tony Robbins in the past. They'd be like, I think he's got the wrong guy, huh? What? My name's not Mark Benioff. We don't have an event called Dreamforce. So that's what you want to do. That's the mindset you want to be in. And then basically, you didn't do any research on what they want, right? So there was like no research whatsoever on what they want, because what you did is you said increased passion, better employee engagement, increased sales, and improved culture. Once again, you threw out a net instead of throwing a spear. So it's like, you don't know what exactly do they want. You just said everything and hoping that one of those is going to click. In reality, what happens is when you say everything, let's say they actually did want their salespeople to have increased passion, right? When you say increased passion, better employee engagement, increased sales, and improved culture, when you name all of those, They look at the 3 that doesn't relate to them, and then they say, we don't really need those. Sorry, you're not a fit. That's what happens every single time. It's like, oh, we don't really, you say one thing that they need and then 3 other things they don't. They look at the 3 things they don't need and then they say, oh, you're not a good fit, right? That's what happens all the time. It's freaking weird. I don't get it, right? But you got to think in terms of, you're not throwing out a net, you're throwing out a spear when it comes to contacting events. And so, and also, you need to sound like a sales guy. In fact, those of you on Instagram won't be able to see this, but let me show you. Let me see if I can look this. All right, yeah, so there we go. So for those of you who have seen The Wolf of Wall Street, I'm going to show you a scene from The Wolf of Wall Street. When it comes to sales companies are very different than, or sales organizations, sales companies, sales people. They're very different than everybody else in a company. Salespeople cuss a lot. They're like just direct and all that sort of stuff, right? So you have to talk like a salesperson. Otherwise, you're basically going to get booed off the stage, that sort of thing, right? Even in your email, you got to talk like a salesperson. So saying little things like Richie is going to make your sales team go bananas at the annual event. And then you say, like, who's your top salesperson? Do you think that they're game to do something with Richie on stage? Saying little things like that, you're speaking their language, right? Like little things like, Richie's going to help them crush their quotas, right? So saying crush quotas, using the word crush, little things like that make a difference when you're actually, especially when you're talking to salespeople. Because when you sound too professional, when you're talking to sales organizations and they want to bring in a salespeople, you sound too professional, they think you're going to get booed off the stage. Let me show you this scene from Wolf of Wall Street, right? So I don't know if you guys have seen Wolf of Wall Street. If you haven't, it's a great movie. Go watch it. But what happens in the scene, the wolf, Jordan Belfort, he's investing in a company, the Steve Madden shoes, right? So you guys probably heard of Steve Madden's. If you're a female, you've definitely heard of them. So the Steve Madden shoes, the owner, Steve Madden, comes into Jordan Belfort because Jordan Belfort's taking their company public. And Steve Madden starts to speak to the sales team, to the whole sales team, right? And here's what happens. So let me show you guys the screen. I don't think I'm going to show you all of it, but let's move the mic in a little bit. All right, here we go.
Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Steve Madden.
Yeah, we know who you are.
Your name is on the box.
Show him the shoe.
Okay, yeah. Anyway, this shoe, this is pretty cool. This is the Mary Lou, which is really the shoe that put me on the map. Without it, I wouldn't be here.
It's a fat girl shoe.
Believe it or not,
So you see, that's how salespeople really are. Now watch this. Let me go to when Jordan Belfort starts talking, a.k.a. Leonardo DiCaprio. Watch this. And by the way, if you get offended by curse words, plug your ears on this one.
With that beautiful wife by his side who's got big voluptuous tits. And who are you going to be sitting next to? Some disgusting wildebeest with 3 days of razor stubble and a sleeveless moo-moo crammed in next to you and a carload full of groceries from the fuck next. So you listen to me and you listen well. Are you behind on your credit card bills? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Is your landlord ready to evict you? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing. Does your girlfriend think you're a fucking worthless loser? Good. Pick up the phone and start dialing.
So do you see the difference in how they talk? Steve Madden gets on there, damn near about to get booed off the stage, right? Jordan Belfort does his thing, and he's like, oh, yeah, like you can see he's a sales guy, right? Because he's a sales guy. And the same goes with when you're pitching any type of event, especially a sales event. If you sound like one of them, then you're more likely to get hired. If you sound like Steve Madden, they'll simply think, oh, man, this guy's going to get destroyed by a sales team when he comes here. That's what's going to happen. So you have to communicate that when you're sending your email pitch to the sales organizations. Otherwise, that's what's going to happen. Now, you don't do it to the extent that Jordan Belfort did in there. You're not cussing and doing all that inside of your email pitches. But what you're doing is you're saying things like oh, he's going to help them crush their quotas and things like that. You have to sound like them if you want to get hired by them. So that's the biggest thing with that, okay? So let's see. John said pitching freshman organizations. All right, pitching freshman organizations for personal self-development safety seminars. there's usually not a name associated with the email. Yeah, so I mean, if you're pitching them, you're going to ask them. So basically, any question you have, let's say you don't know the name of their event or anything like that, any question you have, ask them that question. I know a lot of speakers, what speakers do is this. Speakers say, who do I contact at events? Like, who do I talk to at an event? And I say to them, why are you asking me that question? Go ask them that question. They'll tell you who to talk to, right? So you want to do the same thing. Any question you have, email them and ask them. And it reminds me of, no, I don't want to say that. I'll just go off on a tangent. But basically, any question you have, just ask them that question. That's all you got to think about. All right. So that's Richie's thing. Let me go into Bob's thing real quick. So Bob posted a pitch. Where is it at? All right. Now it's kind of long, so I'm just going to go over it briefly. But here's the background on Bob's pitch. Basically, Bob actually got, he was like on Gig Masters or something like that. Bob is an entertainer, by the way, not like just a speaker. So Bob got a request on Gig Masters, and he called her on the phone. They talked on the phone briefly. And now he sent a follow-up email with, I'll just show you guys briefly so you can see. He sent a follow-up email with all this, okay? So it was like the quote and everything like this, all right? So the first thing, Bob, is why didn't you close her on the phone? You should have closed her on the phone right there and then. Like, you don't want to, if you're talking to them on the phone, you close them on the phone. Remember, the pipeline is incoming questions, quote, contract closed. So if you get them on the phone, sure, you're talking with them about the event, but close them right there and then on the phone. Now, if for some reason she's like, all right, well, we're looking at other entertainers, things like that, it's cool. But you still want to make sure that you close them on the phone rather than having to send a follow-up email. So that was the first thing that I wanted to point out. The next thing is obviously you want to shorten it. So make sure you shorten the whole thing. I've said that just in general, just shorten it. And let me go over this. So Bob said, where's it at? I got to find it. All right, there we go. So let me show you guys this. So he said, good news, we have your date open, which is great since we're now booking shows right into 2021. Now, does anyone see a problem with that? Okay, so it says, good news, we have your date open, which is great since we are now booking shows right into 2021. So how would you change that? Does anyone know how you change that? Or just tell me what the problem is with that sentence in general. And I almost revealed what the problem was. But can anyone say what the problem is with that one? So once again, in case you can't see it, it says, good news, we have your date open, which is great since we are now booking shows right into 2021. Okay? So anyone, I'll wait a few seconds, anyone can tell me what's the problem with that little sentence right there. All right. Now, obviously, there's more to it. Whoops. Just completely switched. All right, let's go here. All right, anyone? I'll wait a few more seconds. But once again, in terms of the actual pitching, there's small things that you got to do, and this one sentence is a thing that I want to talk about. Anyone? Nobody knows? Nobody can tell me? I'll wait. It's literally 2 words. So 2 words in terms of how you would change this thing. All right. Let's see. So let's see. Debbie said the dates seem to be far in a distance. Actually, that's not really a problem. That's actually a good thing if you tell people like we're booking out way in advance, because that kind of says that, hey, I'm booked up, right? That was a huge hint. Hint. By the way, anyone else can tell me what's kind of the problem, and how would you kind of shift this a little bit with the one thing. I'll read it again. It says, good news, we have your date open, which is great since we are now booking shows right into 2021. All right, anybody? All right, my patience is up. I'm done. As you can tell, I'm very impatient. Basically, it sounds like you're allowing them to choose Whereas an in-demand speaker is basically saying to people like, hey, I'm so in demand, I may not be available for your date. It's like this thing that you're communicating. You don't actually say that. You're not like, I'm not available for your date, unless you're really not available. But that wording, the good news, we have the date open, which is great since we are now booking shows right into 2021. It sounds like you're allowing them to choose. It's one of those things where someone who's acting in demand will say something like that to act in demand, whereas an in-demand speaker is going to say something very different, right? And so basically, you always want to think in terms of, do I come across as in demand or not, right? And that whenever you're actually writing an email, that's what you have to focus on 24/7. Do I sound like I'm choosing them or they're choosing me? If it's always they're choosing me, you will always struggle to actually get hired, and you'll always struggle to actually just get hired for a high fee. You have to always think, I don't know if I told you guys this. I know I told Speak Pro members this. For the longest time, I had WWTRD. So, like, what would Jesus do? But I had WWTRD. What that stood for was, what would Tony Robbins do? And I always thought to myself, okay, Tony Robbins booked up, charging $1 million a presentation. How would Tony Robbins respond to this? What would he say, right? And that's what allowed me to sound in demand as I would write these emails. Let's see. Dean said, okay, that's a long one. All right. So he said, this happened 4 times this month, contacted by a potential client, called them. They're impressed by my website. The conversation goes great. They're fine with the pricing. I tell them I'm getting my schedule filled up and I will need to know ASAP if they're going to hire me. All right, they schedule a follow-up call a couple days after taking my info to their bosses for approval. None called back. When I reach out, 2 didn't respond. All right, so Dean, I would actually want to take a look at your website, actually. So let's see. And then you said, when I reach out, 2 didn't respond. 2 said they decided to go in a different direction. What am I doing wrong? Most of the times it actually is your website. So you got to understand, buyers are liars. So people are going to say there's nothing wrong with your website. They love your website. People are always going to say that, but you got to understand people lie all the time. And the reason people lie is just because they don't want to confront you. They don't want that confrontation. So you just got to understand, buyers are liars. They literally just lie because they don't want the confrontation. There's no reason for the confrontation. So it's a combination of that, and it's a combination of, like I said, it's like if you sound desperate, then it comes across very easily. And a lot of times you don't know that you're sounding desperate. But it's one of those things that if you're on the phone, I really, really wish I would have recorded my friend Rich on the phone. It was ridiculous. The way he talked on the phone was so cool. It was like little things to where they would call him or he would call them like, oh yeah, so I mean, what's the date? Okay, yeah, 16th. Okay, yeah. So I mean, I'm good on the 16th, but I got to go the very next day. I mean, what time is the actual event? What time are you going to have me there? Okay, 7. So how long is it going to be? Okay, so you're going to have me on for an hour. So if we can schedule the flight to leave at 9:30, then I should be able to do your event. But I mean, and he would do things like that all the time to where he's like, dude, I'm booked up. Even though he didn't have anything for the next day or nothing. He's like, all right, so we got to schedule it like literally right after I'm done because I got to leave. I got to head out to the next event. And you're saying little things like that on the phone, especially. When you say that in an email, you can't really do that in an email because it sounds like you're bragging and it sounds like you're faking it pretty much. But when you do it in a phone conversation, it sounds very real, especially when you say it with a sense of urgency. That's the biggest thing when you're talking on the phone, when you say it with a sense of urgency. So if I were to say something like, okay, so when is it? The 16th? Okay, so what time did you want me? Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I have another event and I gotta just make sure that I'm good to go the next day and everything. Like, you don't have a sense of urgency in your voice, so you don't sound in demand. And so you got to think in terms of how would an in-demand speaker say it. So Maggie said, can you take a look at my website? All right, yeah, Maggie, I'll take a look later. So post that inside the group, by the way. We'll take a look at that. Let me finish Bob's thing as well. So let's see. Okay. And then little things like Bob said, please take a look at my website. Please take a look at www.com. Saying little things like please take a look at, once again, it sounds needy. So instead, you want to say things like, so I wrote this down. Let's say, said, it seems like X date has always been popular. So they say, oh, we want to hire you for X date. You reply, oh, okay, it seems like X date, the 16th, has always been popular. We have that date open, and I included the quote below. So if you need to convince your team, you can tell them that Bob was voted the best variety act of the Comedy Awards, and his website has tons of videos they can watch, www.so-and-so. As for the fee, it's X. We just need a 50% deposit to secure the date, and then you're good to go. Do I send the contract to you or somebody else? So literally in a little paragraph, I summed up all of, where does this start? Is this Bob's? Yeah. So let's see. I summed up all of this in a single paragraph. All right. So that's kind of what you do. So I'll say that again. So compared to all that Bob said, in fact, let me just read what Bob said. I won't read the whole thing, but let me read it. So it says, hey, Carissa, great to speak with you on the phone today about your event next year. Thanks for contacting us about your event. We would love to come and help make your event very memorable. The Comedy and Motion Show has been wowing crowds and making audiences laugh full time for over 20 years, and we have performed extensively at events just like yours. Good news, we have the date open, which is great since we're now booking shows right into 2021. I'll include some info about the show below along with the quote so you can just forward this email to any other decision makers. Once again, real quick, remember here you say to decision makers, you always want to use the same language that they use. So people don't say decision makers. Like they don't say that. They say things like, oh, this is my team. Like, all right, I'm going to give this to my team or something like that. So you want to say like, you can use this and send this to your team if you want, right? So after he said that, then he basically said, here's a ton of quotes. These are a ton of quotes from events. All that was quotes. Then he said, please take a look at katescomedy.com to get a feel for the professional level of our show. Also take a look at our videos there and the many letters of recommendations, including some of the top companies, cruise ships, and entertainment venues. The costs involved with the show are broken down into 3 categories. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Then you say, I'm assuming you'd be in Group A. All right, bam, bam, bam. Don't forget to send decision makers here. All right, cool. And if you guys look at his website, it's like a bomb-ass website, by the way. All right. So basically, there's a few things. So there's all that, and then think about what I would have said instead. So I would have said, like, it seems like the 16th, or whenever their date was, seems like the 16th has always been popular. So bam, once again, it's kind of like the little in demand-ish. It's like, it seems like the 16th has always been popular. We have that date open, and I included the quote below. If you need to convince your team, you can tell them that Bob was voted the best variety act at the Comedy Awards, and his website has tons of videos they can watch, www. As for the fee, it's X. I would just say one fee. It's X, XYZ. We just need a 50% deposit to secure the date, and you're good to go. Do I send the contract to you or someone else? Once again, this sounds like a conversation, saying little things like, we just need a 50% deposit for the date and you're good to go. The words and you're good to go, that's something you would say in a normal conversation. So that's why I include little things like that. All right. So in this sounds like I'm choosing them rather than they're choosing me. So Bob, when you're saying things like, you say like, please take a look at the website, please take a look at the website to get a feel for the professional level of our show. What you're doing is you're overselling yourself. When you oversell yourself, you come across as desperate, right? An in-demand presenter will never oversell themselves. An in-demand presenter, someone who's really in demand, like let's say Tony Robbins. Imagine Tony Robbins gets a call or an email or whatever. Hey, we want to book you for an event. Okay, cool. When is it? They ask questions about it. All right, it's blah, blah, blah. And he'll just quote, it's $1 million, right? And then they say something like, well, why do we need to hire you? And he'll say, oh, sorry, actually that date's been booked up already. Thank you. Take care. Like that's probably what would happen with Tony Robbins. It's one of those things where you always want to think what would Tony Robbins do? And don't go to his extent because Tony Robbins can do things normal people can't do, right? But you don't want to go all the way to that extent, but think like, what would an in-demand presenter do? What would an in-demand speaker do? And so little things like that is what you want to do. You always want to think in terms of how do I make it sound like I'm choosing them, they're not choosing me. And then with the fee, when you quoted your fee, Bob, so you quoted, let me show you guys. So, well, first off, Bob, you need to charge a lot more because you look like a $10,000 speaker. Like, you straight up look like a $10,000 act. In fact, watch this. Like, if you guys haven't seen his website, just look at this. Bob, you hands down, you need to increase your fee. Like, you need to see the value in, look at this. I mean, just this. I haven't even scrolled yet. Just this. It's like, bam, the crowds and all that. So you need to increase your fee. And I just kind of scroll through his website real quick. Look at the crowds. I mean, obviously he's entertaining. I mean, won the Entertainer Award, right? Look at that. This just looks cool. Like, what is he doing there? Oh, it just looks cool. So, Bob, you definitely want to increase your fee for one. But let's get back to this. So here, what you did is you basically said, all right, the costs involved with the show are broken down in 3 categories: travel, tech, and performance fee. Travel cost is this, tech, then performance fee, right? This reminds me of what a videographer did to me, right? So I was at Best Buy one time and I was looking for video stuff, just a camera. And the guy was like, oh, so do you do video stuff? We're talking. And basically I was thinking about hiring him. Then as I talked to him in a text message, he was like, what do you say? He's like, all right, so in order to do color correction, that's going to cost a little bit more. And then to add like to audio and stuff, that's going to be a little bit more. I'm thinking, I'm like, this dude's like price gouging me. Like, one, I know that basically I felt like he was price gouging me, right? So he's like, oh, this and this. One, I don't need to know all that stuff. I don't need to know that you're going to do color correction and add extra audio. I don't need to know that, right? And the same goes with the event. So the event doesn't need to know your tech and all that. They don't need to know that. They don't need to know how that factors into your fee. They just want to know what your fee is. That's all they care about. And once you get hired, then it's like, here's the tech I need. Here's all this that I need, right? But that's after you get hired. And especially when you actually quoted the fee in different sections based on how many people they have, it's almost like you're punishing them because they're successful. So when you say for groups under 100 people, it's going to be X amount. For groups under 100, it's going to be 2,500. For groups between 101 to 250, it's going to be 5,000. For groups between 251 to 400, it's going to be 7,500. For groups between 400 and up, it's going to be 10,000, right? So it's almost like I feel like you're price gouging me just because we're a successful event and we have a ton of people. You don't want people to have that feeling, even if in the back of your mind, that's literally what you're doing anyways. You're thinking, well, the bigger the event, the more I'm going to charge. Even if you're thinking that, you don't actually post that there because it's almost like being around an insanely rich person and then they feel like you're using them for their money, right? And so that's kind of what you did by quoting your fee that way. All they want to know is just like, well, what do you charge? Like, I gave you the details of our event. I told you how many people. I told you when it's going to be. I told you all that stuff. Just tell me what you charge. That's all I want to know, right? So that's all you do. Okay. So we got that, the pricing. Let's see. And then once again, the decision makers, you always want to think in terms, instead of saying decision makers, think in terms of your team. So it's like you can send this to your team, not decision makers. Okay. Because the team is basically the decision maker anyways. So if they're not the decision maker, they got to send it to a decision maker, which is their team. So just like what I said with Richie, if Richie's talking to salespeople, you want to talk like salespeople inside of your pitch. The same goes with everything that you're doing. You always want to use the same vocabulary, the same language that they use whenever you're talking to them. So say team instead of decision maker. All right. And then let's see. I didn't get it. Okay. And then they said, all right, so basically you didn't get the gig. And then they said, read the email I sent. Okay. Okay. Thanks. Who did you go? Oh, okay. So I was reading my notes. I'm like, what the hell did I type there? So basically, all right, so Bob didn't get the gig. They were like, we went with someone else. And so what you want to do is you want to say something like, you basically want to ask them, why did they go with someone else? Or like, who was it, right? And I guarantee you, here's what I used to say. I used to say things like this. When people would say to me, okay, we went with someone else. There's a method to my madness. I literally said this in an email. I said, okay, thanks. Who did you go with so I can break their legs? I mean, who did you go with? That's literally my response. When they say, oh, we went with someone else, I say, okay, thanks. Who did you go with so I can break their legs? ... I mean, who did you go with? by doing that, what I'm doing is I'm becoming very memorable in their eyes. It's one of those funny things that you say, if they get offended by it, who cares? They didn't hire you anyways. But it's like, it's one of those things where you got to understand it's just a regular person on the other end of your email. And even though they're in a business, a professional business, all that stuff, it's still a regular person. When they get off the business, when they're off their job, they're out there drinking with their friends, smoking weed, doing whatever they want to do, right? Telling crazy jokes to each other. So when you say little things like that, what happens is you become memorable at that moment, right? And I guarantee if you do little things like that, before you know it, people are going to hire you next year. This happened to me all the time. I would literally say that. That was literally my email template. It said, okay, thanks. Who did you go with so I can break their legs? I mean, who did you go with? Right. And so it's just like one of those things where I'm just becoming memorable in their eyes. So when I contact them next year, or when they contact me again, then they just remembered me, right? Whereas all the other speakers and entertainers that they were talking to, they were like, oh, we didn't go with you, basically. We went with somebody else. They've forgotten about that person, completely forgotten about him. And so when I say things like, oh, okay, well, who did you go with so I can break their legs? I mean, who did you go with? They laugh at it. They'll show other people in the office. They're like, look at what this dude said. That's crazy dude, right? And so they'll do that, and you'll just be more memorable. So when you contact them next year, you're more likely to get hired. And that's the other thing. When events don't hire you, do not delete them. Like, don't just be like, oh, they didn't hire me this year. All right, dang it, done. Keep them in your CRM and contact them next year, because you know that they pay for speakers. You know they pay for entertainers. You know they pay. It just so happens they didn't pay you that year. So next year, they may be able to hire you, right? So for all you know, the person they hired, he's going to suck. And then they're like, dang it, we should have went with Bob. Dang it, we should have went with Benji. Dang it, we should have went with this other person, right? So for all you know, that's what could have happened. And so that's why even if they say no, like, oh, we went with someone else, keep their information. Okay? The biggest thing is you got to sound in demand. You got to sound like you're choosing them, they're not choosing you. And let's see. Another one real quick is Tele. So I want to go over Tele's real quick. Let's see if I want to read this. All right, I'll do this real quick. All right, so Tele's thing. All right, so he said, saw your XYZ event. I was wondering who hires speakers. All right, then they said, all right, I'm the person. All right, okay, perfect. I saw photos of your big games event on Facebook. The event looks great. I was wondering if you'd be interested in my client as a speaker for your annual events. I work with a motivational speaker who would be perfect for you guys. His name is Tele. Here's a link to his website where you can see all that. When you hire Tele for a keynote, you can expect all of this, okay? And then, bam, goes in. Once again, don't include YouTube videos. Do not send people to YouTube. I can't stress that enough. If you have a video you want them to see, embed that video onto your website. You want them on your website. Your website is your sales page. It is the thing that sells you. And when you send them somewhere else, they will naturally click around. They will see everybody else who, especially like what I used to do with YouTube ads, I would naturally target other entertainers and speakers. So if they ever sent anyone to their YouTube video, I would pop up. When you get someone like really savvy with that stuff, that's what happens. You don't want to send them to YouTube. You want them to be on your website. You need to have a great website because the website sells you. Okay. So just keep that in mind whenever you're doing this. And then remember the beginning part. So you said, where was it? So remember like this whole thing, this part was customized. Like, you included the name of their event, and then the rest, it was kind of like, once again, the copy and paste at this moment. And you want to be specific. So you said, I know that as an event planner, you want to be sure that every aspect is so-and-so, right? So what you should have done is you should have used their name instead of saying like, I know as an event planner. Once again, if you just would have used their name, they would have understood like, hey, you're talking to them. So you just got to be very specific about stuff instead of just saying as an event planner. Like, why don't you use their name instead of saying as an event planner? All right. And then at the end you said, or they said, thank you. Yeah, they said, thank you for your email. We typically do not hire speakers for our annual gala. Wait, let me highlight that. They said, thanks for your email. We typically do not hire speakers for our annual gala. This is where you want to understand what the event is. And once again, you're always thinking from their perspective. So gala events are pretty much, they're like the dinner banquets. It's more like they're looking more for entertainment rather than a boring speaker. And so when you pitch yourself, it has to really sound like entertainment, and you got to focus on that aspect when you're pitching yourself. If it's an annual gala, you always want to like really think from their perspective whenever you're pitching yourself. In the beginning, I want to point out that you need to be more aggressive than when you're actually booking a lot of events. So like a friend of mine, Shakuma, so he was doing a lot of trade shows, or he does a lot of trade shows, and he doesn't actually like follow up as much now because he's pretty successful. So whenever an event says, no, we're not interested, he doesn't follow up anymore. He's just like, all right, I'm not going to try to convince him, none of that, right? Whereas in the beginning, you need to actually push more just because you need to practice having the conversations with people, and also you're more likely to get hired. So even if you have one email template that literally just says something like, if they say we typically don't hire speakers, and you say like, okay, well if you ever need a speaker in the future, here's the website, here's my website. Even if you just do that, that's better than not responding at all, because something like that can be a copy and paste template. It can literally be 2 clicks away inside of your CRM to where they say, okay, we typically don't hire speakers, or okay, I'm sorry, we only hire industry related speakers. You just respond with a quick template. It just says, okay, if you ever need a speaker in the future, then here's my website. Thanks. Bam. And then you just move on to the next one, right? In the beginning, you got to be a little bit more aggressive because once again, you're practicing your ability to pitch, and you will actually get hired more often if you are a little bit more aggressive. So just keep that in mind. And then the biggest thing when it comes to pitching yourself is to ask the so what. So you're always saying, so what, right? So let's see. I think it was, all right. So Dan Nitro, so he posted an email pitch, and it was like a conscious capitalism event. And when you ask yourself, so what happens is you figure out how can you fit into their event. So what happened with the conscious capitalism event is Dan contacted them, pitched them, and they literally said, they were like, okay, he looks great, but how does he fit into our event? Very rarely will you have someone literally tell you that. Like, you won't really... Literally, it's very rare that someone's just going to be like, well, how does he fit? Usually what happens is they just say, no thanks, he's not a good fit. That's usually what happens. They turn you down. They don't actually ask you the question, well, he seems great, but how does he fit into our event? And so when you always ask in your head, so what? Whenever you type anything into your email and you think, so what happens is you think more from their perspective. So on their about page, I went to the about page of this event. They literally said this. They said, conscious capitalism is a way of thinking about capitalism and business that better reflects where we are in the human journey, the state of our world today, and the innate potential of business to make a positive impact on the world. Okay? So that's what they say on their about page. Now, here's one of the sentences that Dan said in the pitch. So in Dan's pitch, he said, in his last business, Gladiator Rock and Run, Dan raised over $250K to talk about curing autism. All right. Now, to me, I'm thinking, okay, that relates. Like, Dan raised $500,000 or $250,000 for this autism people. So he combined business with conscious capitalism stuff, right? He combined the two. But they didn't see it. And the reason they didn't see the connection is because you didn't tell them the connection. You didn't answer the so what. So when you said in his last business, Gladiator Rock and Run, Dan raised over $250K for talk about curing autism, you got to ask, so what? You raised it, so what? And then when you ask that, you remember on their about page what it said. They want to basically combine, the innate potential of business and make a positive impact on the world. So what you should have done is you should have said, in his last business, Gladiator Rock and Run, Dan raised over $250K for the autism people. So he's using his business acumen and fame to show to impact the world. So just by adding a little bit more asking yourself, so what, you now relate to their event. You basically figure out, how do I fit into their event? You're answering that question by saying, so what? The whole so what thing, it really comes down to thinking in terms of metaphors, right? So you're always thinking in terms of, or let me tell you an easy way to practice this. An easy way to practice this is to take two random objects and figure out, like, how do they relate, right? Or how do they relate? So here, this remote to the lights, right? So I turn the lights on and off and all that. So I got this remote to the lights. Then there's a microphone. How do these two things relate? Well, they kind of don't, but you got to figure out, how do they relate? How do they fit in with one another? So I can say something like, you know what? Both of these, a microphone and this remote control, it's an enabler to a message. It enables your message. Without lights, you can't see me. So you're not going to listen to my message. And hey, without a microphone, you can't hear me. So there's no way you can hear my message, right? And so what you're doing is, just a simple way to practice is, you take two random objects. The more random, the better. These aren't even all that random, to be honest, but the more random, the better. And you want to think in terms like, how can these two things relate? Like, just figure out how to combine the two. And then eventually you're going to build that skill up over time. What's going to happen is, when you look at an event like Conscious Capitalism, Dreamforce, or McDonald's event, and you're a sales speaker, you're going to think, how does a sales speaker relate to McDonald's? How does a sales speaker relate to Dreamforce? Well, that's easy. How does a sales speaker relate to Conscious Capitalism? How does a sales speaker relate to a yoga event? And so you'll make the connection instantly. Like, you'll do it really fast because you practiced on two random objects all the time, right? And so that's how you, like, really, really get into it in terms of practicing that. But when it comes down to your pitching, the only way you're going to get better at pitching is to have feedback on your pitches. If you don't get feedback, you will absolutely, hands down, be confused as hell as to why you're not getting hired. You'll simply say, I am cold emailing, I am cold calling, it's not working. It's because you're doing it wrong. You have to figure out the feedback. And if for some reason, let's say you're not in the Speak Pro Academy, if you're in the Speak Pro Academy, all you got to do is post your pitch, and then we'll go over the things, how to sound more in demand, all that stuff. If you're not in the Speak Pro Academy, you need to figure out how to get feedback. Like, you got to figure out, how do I get feedback on this pitch? Because feedback, in terms of when you talk to an event, they don't tell you the real reason as to why they ignored you. They don't tell you the real reason as to why they didn't hire you. They just say you're not a good fit. That's all they say. They don't say things like, oh, well, we don't really see how you fit into our event. They don't say things like that to you. They don't say, oh, your website's bad. They never say things like that. Instead, they just say, oh, you're not really a good fit, right? So that's all they said. Let's see. John said, do you have a website we can model? I did. I used to show people my website until everybody just copied the damn thing. So I stopped showing people my websites. But if you guys go, let me show you a really good website, actually. Let's see. So yeah, in case you guys didn't know, I went more underground with my stuff because everyone kept copying my stuff. So I'm like, nope, not anymore. So this guy right here, John Pest, don't know him, but he has a great website. Everything he says on his website is exactly how you get hired. Like, literally, there's no doubt in my mind this guy's fully booked, charges a lot of money, no doubt. So everything he says, like here where, not that one. One here. So he says, funny speaker, entertaining event MC, engaging keynote, motivational speaker. This, he's showcasing the experience of hiring him. And that's why this guy is probably booked up like crazy. And so you want to look at things like that in terms of websites like that. All right, cool. So I'll look at the websites later. We only got 10 minutes right now. Yeah, a couple minutes. Let's see. Dan said, all right, a company asked for a quote. I sent them a template of event questions. They responded, and now it's time to send them the quote. Can you give guidelines on the email when we are actually sending the quote? When you're actually sending the quote, you just quote them. That's literally all you do. Don't make it complicated. Just say it costs X amount. We just need a 50% deposit to secure the date. Do I send the contract to you or somebody else? That's it, right? So you don't overcomplicate it. And I talked about this yesterday in the implementation part, where I said I think the reason why a lot of people don't implement is because they overcomplicate something that should be very simple. And so when someone asks you, what do you charge? You tell them. Well, I mean, you ask questions first, the questions you need to know. Once you have that, then you tell them. That's it. And then once again, remember the pipeline. The pipeline is incoming questions, quote, contract closed. So once you tell them your fee, the next stage of the pipeline is to send the contract. So that's why you ask them, do I send the contract to you or somebody else? And so remember the whole pipeline. I'm telling you guys, if you're not a Speak Pro member, you better join. Like, you guys are going to be way behind. I'm telling you, Maggie's damn near, she what is this, like your second month, got like a 25K gig or about to get a 25K gig. But Maggie's killing it though. Maggie's like, she's a 1%er. She's not the average person, right? So I'm telling you, if you guys aren't in the Speak Pro Academy, what you doing? What you doing, man? What? And so let's see. Sean said, do you like what Bob had done with the fee range based on the audience size? I talked about that earlier. So Sean, rewatch this video and you'll see everything that I mentioned with that. All right, cool. Yeah, but literally, Sean, I literally talked about that earlier. So just rewatch the replay and you'll see what I mentioned about that. But basically, you guys got to make sure that you get them really good in terms of how you pitch events. You will be confused as to why you're not getting hired if you don't know how to pitch events. Like, you'll be confused because you won't have the so what, you won't sound in demand. If anything, you got to think along those two lines in terms of, you always got to think so what. Whenever you type something, so what? Like, all right, I'm the greatest speaker in the world, so what? Like, how do you fit into our event? And then on top of that, you always got to think, how do I sound in demand? So there are little things that you're saying in an email pitch or on the phone where it makes you sound less in demand, and that is why you're not getting hired. So you got to sound like an in-demand presenter if you want to get hired for high fees, and if you want to just get hired more often. I mean, literally I'm telling you what really did it for me is I said WWTRD. What would Tony Robbins do? How would Tony Robbins sound in demand? What would Tony Robbins do? That's literally what I would do all the time. And that's how you actually sound in demand. So Jim said, what's Bob's website again? Bob's website is catescomedy.com. CATES comedy.com. So yeah, Bob has a killer website. All right. So cool. All right, and Jim, just join the group, by the way. Join our Facebook group now that you signed up. Just join the group, and then we'll talk inside of there as well. If you have any questions, make sure you ask the questions inside the group. And then also, Jim, just kind of go through the Speak Pro modules first, just kind of get an understanding of that. And then, let's go. Let's get it, right? All right, cool. So thanks, everybody, for showing up. Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Pacific time, we are talking about whatever we need to talk about to get you guys booked on stages, to do your marketing, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So I will see you guys Monday through Friday, next Monday or upcoming Monday. I'll see you guys Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. Take care, everybody.